The man stood near the back of the reception hall, one hand on his son's shoulder, the other holding a paper cup of water he hadn't touched. He had been invited late, almost as an afterthought. He wore a suit that didn't quite fit anymore. It still carried the shape of the life he used to have. The room was full of people who spoke easily about promotions, travel, plans. He didn't join them. He watched the exits. He counted how long his son had been standing. When the bride passed by laughing, someone shifted beside him. A voice low enough not to carry. "Stop looking at the bride," the voice said. "Look at me." The man turned. The speaker was calm, confident. A CEO he recognized from headlines, from meetings he no longer attended. A man who had power here. Nothing else was said. But something tightened. The music kept playing. The room stayed bright. His son tugged gently at his hand. The man understood, without being told, that whatever happened next would not be temporary. Some choices don't announce themselves. They wait until there's no clean way out. If this story stays with you, subscribe. Quiet stories find their people slowly. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday, mixed in with utility bills and a school notice printed on thin yellow paper. It was heavier than the others, cream-colored, his name spelled correctly, which surprised him. He set it on the counter and finished cutting an apple into even slices. His son stood on a chair beside him, watching closely, as if the shape of the pieces mattered. "Can I have the big one?" the boy asked. "They're all the same," he said, and slid a plate toward him. Only after his son carried the plate to the table did he pick up the envelope. He didn't open it right away. He turned it over once, then again, as if checking for a return address he already knew would be there. The invitation was brief. A wedding. Someone he used to work with. Someone who had moved on cleanly. The date was 3 weeks away. A small line at the bottom said "Children welcome," like an accommodation. He folded the card back into the envelope and left it on the counter. He rinsed the knife. He wiped the surface where the apple juice had pooled. These were motions he trusted. They stayed where he put them. His son climbed down and patted over, chewing slowly. "Who's getting married?" the boy asked, mouth still full. "A friend," he said. "Are we going?" He didn't answer right away. He watched his son swallow, then reach for another slice. "I don't know," he said. "It's at night." "Oh." The boy took that in. Night meant later dinner. It meant lights and music and the risk of getting tired in public. He nodded, as if filing it away for later consideration. "Do they have cake?" he asked. "Probably." The boy smiled. That was the end of it for him. That night, after bedtime, the envelope stayed on the counter. He did not bring it to the table or the couch. He left it where it was, visible but not in the way. When he passed through the kitchen, he glanced at it, then looked elsewhere. He thought about routine, about how his son's days had a shape now. Wake up, cereal, shoes by the door. School pickup at the same time. Dinner before dark. Stories read in order, not skipped. The wedding cut across all of that. He thought about the room it would be in. He could picture it without trying. Tall windows. People he had once known well enough to predict their reactions. Music loud enough to cover conversations that mattered. He imagined standing there with his son, hand on a small shoulder, trying to look like he belonged to the present version of his own life. Before sleep, he checked the calendar on his phone. The date was empty. He did not add anything. The next morning, his son asked again, "Are we going to the wedding?" "I haven't decided," he said, tying shoes. "Why?" "Because I have to think about it." His son accepted this. He sat on the floor and waited, hands in his lap. At work, the invitation stayed with him, folded once and tucked into his bag. He did not show it to anyone. He did not mention it. When a coworker complained about traffic, he nodded. When someone asked about his weekend, he said it was fine. At lunch, he took the invitation out and read it again. He noticed the venue name. He noticed the time. He noticed that his name appeared alone, without a +1, and then the small line about children, placed as if to soften the omission. He folded it back carefully. On the way home, he stopped at the grocery store. He bought the same things he always did: milk, bread, apples. He stood in the aisle longer than necessary, reading labels he already knew. At home, his son was sprawled on the floor with crayons, drawing something that looked like a large square with smaller ones inside it. "What's that?" he asked. "A room," the boy said, "with music." "Where did you see that?" "On TV." He nodded. He washed his hands. He watched his son color over the same spot again and again, darkening it until the paper bent. That night, he made a decision that felt smaller than it was. He took the calendar down from the wall and circled the date with a pen. Not hard, just enough to mark it. When his son noticed, he looked up. "What's that?" "We're going to the wedding," he said. His son smiled, wide and unguarded. "Can I wear my nice shoes?" "Yes." "Even if they hurt?" "Even then." The days that followed adjusted themselves around the circle on the calendar. He borrowed a suit jacket from a neighbor and had the sleeves altered. He tried it on at night, standing in front of the mirror while his son brushed his teeth. "You look like a waiter," the boy said. "That's not bad," he said. "It is if you're not bringing food." He took the jacket off. On the day of the wedding, he woke earlier than usual. He packed a small bag with snacks and a book. He reminded his son to stay close. He explained briefly that they might leave early. In the car, his son hummed to himself. The venue came into view sooner than expected. White walls, cars lined neatly, people already arriving. He parked farther away than necessary. Inside, the room smelled like flowers and something sweet. His son reached for his hand. He held it without thinking. They stood near the back, out of the way. He kept track of time. He kept track of where his son was looking. When the bride walked past laughing, he looked up without meaning to. Not at her, exactly. At the movement. At the sound of people responding. Then the voice came from his side. Close enough that his son could hear it if he were listening. "Stop looking at the bride," the voice said. "Look at me." He turned. He did not answer right away. He did not step back or forward. He simply turned his head enough to see the man beside him clearly. The CEO stood with his hands loosely clasped, posture relaxed. He looked as if he belonged anywhere he chose to stand. His suit was tailored, unwrinkled. His attention was precise, not rushed. He did not raise his voice again. Around them, the room continued without pause. Laughter rose and fell. Chairs scraped lightly against the floor. Someone clinked a glass near the front. The music shifted to something slower. His son was still facing the dance floor, eyes fixed on the lights overhead. He had not heard the words. Or he had heard them, and placed them nowhere. The father shifted his weight slightly, a movement meant only to recenter himself. He kept his hand where it was, resting on his son's shoulder. He felt the small bones under the fabric of the jacket. "I wasn't," he said finally. His voice stayed level. "Just watching the room." The CEO's mouth tightened in a way that might have been a smile. It might not have been anything. "Of course," he said. "It's been a while." "Yes." That was all. No handshake. No introduction. The CEO nodded once and stepped away, absorbed almost immediately into another conversation. The space he left behind felt thinner than before. His son looked up then. "Dad," the boy said, "they're dancing." "I see," he said. "Can we stand closer?" He considered the distance, the crowd, the exits. He shook his head. "Let's stay here." The boy frowned but did not argue. He leaned back against his father's leg instead, content to watch from where they were. The father scanned the room again, more carefully now. He recognized faces. Former colleagues. People who had once known his schedule, his habits, his importance. Some noticed him and looked away quickly. Others did not look at all. He chose a table near the wall when the ceremony ended. He pulled out a chair and guided his son into it. He placed the bag of snacks beneath the table within reach. He sat only after making sure the chair legs were steady. The tablecloth was white and too long. His son kicked it absent-mindedly. He nudged the boy's foot with his own, a quiet reminder. "Sorry," the boy whispered. "It's fine." A server approached with water. The father accepted one glass and set it between them. His son took a sip and made a face. Not cold. It's okay. The boy shrugged and slid the glass back. Conversation drifted from nearby tables. Talk of travel, of new offices, of people moving up or out. The father did not join in. He listened just enough to stay oriented. His phone buzzed once in his pocket. He did not check it. "Dad," his son said, leaning close, "why are you quiet?" "I'm just tired." "Me too." "You can sit," he said. The boy climbed onto the chair and rested his chin on the table, eyes still tracking movement across the room. The father watched him carefully, noting the signs he had learned to recognize. The way the boy's shoulders dropped when overwhelmed. The way his attention narrowed when he needed grounding. He took a cracker from the bag and placed it on the table. The boy ate it slowly. Across the room, the CEO laughed at something someone said. The sound carried easily. It did not belong to him anymore, but he still knew it. The father felt the old instinct rise, the one that told him to adjust his posture, to prepare for engagement, to be ready. He let it pass. He stayed where he was. A woman approached their table, someone he used to work with, though he could not remember the last time they had spoken. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said, eyes flicking briefly to the child. "Hi," he said. "This is my son." "Oh," she said. "How nice." She asked his son's name. She asked his son's name. She asked how old he was. The boy answered politely, swinging his legs. The conversation stayed light. When it ended, she returned to her group without comment. The father noticed that she did not ask what he was doing now. Time moved unevenly. The music grew louder. Plates arrived and were cleared. He ate little. His son picked at his food, distracted by everything and nothing. When the first dance began, the lights dimmed slightly. The room's attention shifted forward again. Applause rippled. His son leaned into him. "Can we go soon?" the boy asked. "Yes," he said. "After this." "Okay." They stood when the dance ended. He gathered their things carefully, checking the floor for anything dropped. He helped his son into his jacket. As they moved toward the exit, the CEO appeared again, this time blocking their path just enough to require acknowledgement. "Leaving early?" the CEO asked. "My son's tired," he said. The CEO looked down briefly, then back up. "Of course," he said. "Responsibilities." "Yes." The word hung between them longer than necessary. "Well," the CEO said, stepping aside. "Good to see you." "Good to see you," he replied, though he was not sure it was true. They walked out into the cooler air. The noise softened behind them. His son yawned and reached for his hand again. In the car, the boy was quiet for a while. "Dad?" he said finally. "Yes? Did I do okay?" He started the engine. "You did great." He started the engine. "You did great," he said. The boy nodded, satisfied, and leaned his head against the window. As he pulled away from the venue, he checked the rearview mirror. The building receded, lights still bright, music still audible. He felt, without fully understanding it yet, that something had shifted. Not enough to name. Enough to matter. He drove on. The next morning began the way most mornings did. The alarm went off once. He turned it off before it could ring again. His son stirred but did not wake. The room was still dim, the light outside not yet settled into day. He moved through the apartment quietly. Coffee. Toast. The same mug he always used, chipped at the rim. He stood at the counter and drank half of it before it cooled. The silence felt earned, not empty. When his son came out of the bedroom, hair flattened on one side. He was already dressed. "Morning," the boy said. "Morning. Are we late?" "No." The boy relaxed. He climbed into his chair and waited for breakfast to appear. Nothing about the morning suggested the night before had mattered. That was its own kind of relief. They left on time. Shoes on the right feet, backpack zipped. At the school entrance, his son waved once before turning toward his classroom. He did not look back. At work, the building felt unchanged. Same badge reader, same elevator delays. He nodded to people he recognized. Most nodded back. A few did not. At his desk, he opened his email and began the day's tasks in order. He focused on what was in front of him. Reports, numbers, deadlines that still applied. Just before noon, a message appeared in his inbox. The subject line was brief. A name he knew. "Do you have a minute?" He stared at it longer than necessary. He checked the sender twice, though there was no doubt. The CEO's assistant. Corporate address. Polite punctuation. He closed the message without responding. He stood up and went to refill his water bottle. He returned and sat down. He reopened the email. He replied with one word. Sure. The meeting request came seconds later. 15 minutes, that afternoon. He did not tell anyone. He finished what he was working on. He ate lunch at his desk. When the time came, he walked to the elevator without hurrying. The executive floor smelled different. Cleaner, less lived in. He waited near a glass wall until he was waved inside. The CEO stood when he entered. Not quickly. Just enough. "Thanks for coming," the CEO said. He nodded. They sat. The desk between them was wide and clear. No clutter. No photographs. "I wanted to follow up on last night," the CEO said. "It was a bit abrupt." "It was," he said. "I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable." He considered the question. He thought about the room. His son's shoulder under his hand, the way the word responsibilities had landed. "I noticed it," he said. The CEO nodded, as if that answered something. "I value directness," the CEO said, "especially with people I've worked with before." "Yes." The CEO leaned back slightly. "I'll be brief," he said. "There are some changes coming. Structural. Strategic. Your name came up." He waited. He kept his hands still on his lap. "Some concerns were raised," the CEO continued. "About focus, availability." "By whom?" The CEO smiled faintly. "It's not about blame," he said. "It's about fit." Silence stretched. The hum of the building filled it. "My availability is documented," he said. "My work is current." "I know," the CEO said. "This isn't a performance issue." "Then what is it?" The CEO met his eyes fully now. "It's perception," he said. "And timing." He thought about his son's school schedule, about pickup times, about leaving early when needed, about the ways he had adjusted without asking permission. "I don't have flexibility in my home life," he said. "If that's the concern." The CEO nodded again. "That's exactly it." They sat with that. The words did not need explanation. "There will be a role change," the CEO said. "Nothing immediate, but soon." "What kind of change?" "A step sideways," the CEO said. "Less visibility, fewer expectations." "And less growth," he said. "Yes." He absorbed that. He thought about what visibility meant now, about how often he was seen and by whom. "When?" he asked. "After the quarter," the CEO said. "You'll hear formally." He stood. "The meeting was over. I wanted you to hear it from me," the CEO said. "Out of respect." "Thank you," he said, though he did not know if it was deserved. As he left, the CEO added, "Your son seemed well behaved." He paused, hand on the door. "He is," he said. Back at his desk, the office noise felt louder. He answered messages. He attended meetings. He spoke when necessary. No one mentioned anything unusual. At pickup, his son ran toward him, backpack bouncing. "Dad," the boy said, breathless, "we painted today. That's good. I made a house." "Did you?" "Yeah. It has 2 rooms." He smiled briefly. At home, the boy spread the painting on the table. Thick blue lines, yellow squares for windows. "This is your room," the boy said. "And this is mine." He nodded. "That's nice." They ate dinner. They followed the usual order. Bath, pajamas, book. When the lights were off, the boy spoke into the dark. "Dad." "Yes? Are you mad?" He took a breath. "No," he said. "You were quiet again." "I was thinking." "About what?" He chose carefully. About work. Oh. A pause. Are you going to lose your job? The question landed cleanly. No fear. Just curiosity. I don't know yet, he said. Okay. That was enough for the boy. He rolled over and fell asleep. In the living room, the painting lay where the boy had left it. He picked it up and studied it again. 2 rooms. No doors between them. He set it on the fridge with a magnet shaped like a star. He stood there longer than necessary. Then he turned off the light. The next day, he received another email. This one copied several people. Formal language. A meeting scheduled for the following week. He did not open it right away. He packed his son's lunch. He zipped the bag. He placed it by the door. At the school entrance, his son stopped before going in. Dad, he said. Yes? You'll still be here after school, right? Yes, he said. The boy nodded and ran inside. He stood there for a moment after, watching the door close. He felt the weight of being recognized again. Not as he was, but as something that no longer fit. He turned and walked back to his car. The meeting was held in a room with no windows. The lights were too bright. The chairs were arranged carefully, equidistant from one another, as if comfort had been measured and rationed. He arrived early and took a seat near the end of the table. He placed his notebook in front of him, but did not open it. Around him, others filtered in, some familiar, some new. A few nodded in his direction. None sat beside him. When the CEO entered, conversation stopped. Not abruptly. It faded, as if everyone had agreed to lower their voices at the same time. The agenda was brief. A realignment, efficiency, streamlining, words that carried no heat but left marks all the same. His name appeared on a slide. No commentary. Just a shift in reporting structure. A new role title that sounded neutral enough to argue with only if one wanted to be noticed for the wrong reasons. He did not speak. He watched the CEO explain the change as if it were weather, unavoidable, impersonal. When the meeting ended, people stood quickly. Some avoided eye contact. Others offered tight smiles. He gathered his things slowly. The CEO waited until the room was nearly empty before approaching. I know this isn't easy, the CEO said. He nodded. I want to be clear, the CEO continued. This isn't punitive. I understand. It's about alignment. Yes. They stood there, the hum of the lights filling the space between them. Your priorities have shifted, the CEO said. That's not a criticism. It is, if it cost me my work. The CEO held his gaze. It cost you a version of it, he said. That night, he did not tell his son right away. They ate dinner as usual. He asked about school. The boy talked about a game they played at recess. Nothing in his voice suggested concern. After dishes, the boy sat on the floor and built something with blocks. He stacked them carefully, adjusting when one leaned. Dad, he said, do you want to play? In a minute. The boy nodded and kept building. The structure grew taller than usual. He watched it sway. He sat down beside him. Careful, he said. I know, the boy said. I'm trying to make it strong. One block slipped. The tower collapsed. The boy stared at the pieces for a moment. It's okay, the boy said before he could speak. I can build it again. Yes, he said, you can. Later, after bedtime, he opened his laptop. He reviewed the new role description. The language was clean, the expectations reduced, the compensation unchanged for now. He closed the document without responding. In the quiet, the memory of the wedding returned. The music, the lights, the voice at his side. Stop looking at the bride. Look at me. At the time, he had taken it as a correction. Now it felt like a warning. The next few days settled into an altered rhythm. He was excluded from certain meetings, copied late on others. He noticed the change because he had learned to notice absence. At pickup, his son talked about a classmate who had moved away. He just didn't come back, the boy said. The teacher said he moved. Did you say goodbye? No. Does that bother you? The boy shrugged. Things change. He absorbed that. At home, he adjusted his schedule. He left earlier. He arrived on time. He was present in ways that were visible to the boy. Less distracted, more attentive. Still, something pressed at him. The sense that restraint was no longer neutral. That silence had been mistaken for acceptance. On Friday evening, as he packed his son's bag for the weekend, his phone rang. An unfamiliar number. He let it go to voicemail. He finished packing. He checked the list taped to the fridge. When he listened to the message later, the voice was measured. "This is a courtesy call," it said. "Regarding your position. No details. Just an invitation to talk." He sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. His son appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Bad dream?" the boy asked. "No," he said. "Just thinking." The boy climbed into bed beside him without asking. He leaned his head against his father's arm. "Can I stay?" he asked. "Yes." The boy fell asleep quickly. His breathing evened out. The father stayed awake longer. He thought about how much of his life had been built on being agreeable, on being useful, on being quiet. He wondered what his son was learning from watching him now. In the morning, the boy asked for pancakes. He made them, flipping carefully. "Dad," the boy said, watching the batter spread, "why don't you talk more at work?" He paused. "What makes you think that?" "You're always listening," the boy said, "but you don't say much." "That's my job," he said. The boy considered this. "Do you like it?" He flipped the pancake. "I like being here," he said. The boy smiled, satisfied. As they ate, his phone buzzed again. The same number. He did not answer. He cleared the plates. He washed them. He dried his hands slowly. He knew that not answering was a choice. He also knew that answering would be one. He picked up the phone and set it face down on the counter. The room was quiet. His son hummed softly, swinging his legs. The weight of the whisper stayed with him. Not as a sound, but as a direction. They spent the weekend mostly at home. The weather was cold enough to keep people indoors, and he did not push against that. He let the hours pass without structure beyond meals and sleep. On Saturday morning, his son lined up toy cars along the edge of the rug. He moved them carefully, spacing them evenly. "Don't touch this one," the boy said. "It's in charge." He watched, seated on the couch with a mug cooling in his hands. "What makes it in charge?" he asked. "It goes first," the boy said, "and the others wait." "Does it ever stop being in charge?" The boy thought about it. "Only if it crashes?" He nodded. He did not say anything else. Later, they went out for groceries. The store was quiet. He let his son push the small cart, guiding it when it drifted too close to other people. In the checkout line, his phone buzzed again. The same number. He ignored it. "Who keeps calling?" the boy asked. "The work. Do they need you?" "Sometimes." The boy accepted that and turned his attention back to the candy display, reading labels he could not yet understand. At home, he put the groceries away in the same order he always did. Cold items first, then dry goods. He placed the apples in the bowl and washed one before handing it to his son. That afternoon, he opened his laptop at the kitchen table. His son colored nearby. He reviewed emails. Nothing urgent. Nothing that required a response from him, specifically. He considered writing back to the voicemail. He typed a sentence and deleted it. He typed another and closed the laptop instead. "Can we go to the park?" the boy asked. "It's cold. I'll wear my hat." He looked outside. The sky was clear. The cold was manageable. "Okay," he said. At the park, the swings were empty. He pushed his son gently, keeping the arc low. The boy laughed anyway. "Higher," he said. He shook his head. "Not today." The boy frowned but did not protest. He pumped his legs, trying to add momentum on his own. On a nearby bench, two parents talked about work. One complained about long hours. The other nodded sympathetically. He listened without turning his head. When his son tired, they walked home. The boy skipped ahead, then waited, then skipped again. He matched his pace without thinking. That night, after dinner, his son asked to watch a movie. He chose one they had already seen. Familiar, predictable. Halfway through, the boy fell asleep. He turned the volume down and sat there, careful not to move. His phone vibrated again. A text, this time. "We need to connect." He did not respond. He set the phone aside and watched the screen until the movie ended. When he carried his son to bed, the boy stirred. "Did I miss the ending?" he asked. "No," he said. "It was the same as before." "Oh," the boy said, and settled back into sleep. In the dark, he stood for a moment, listening to his son's breathing. He adjusted the blanket. He turned off the light. In the living room, he picked up his phone again. The missed calls were stacked now. Each one represented a different version of himself he could step back into. He did not like how easily that thought came. He sat at the table and opened a document. He listed expenses, rent, food, school supplies. He adjusted numbers. He removed anything unnecessary. The margins were thin but workable. On Sunday, his son asked if they could bake something. They made cookies from a box mix. The instructions were simple. The result, uneven but edible. As they waited for them to cool, the boy leaned against the counter. "Dad," he said, "do you like staying home?" "Yes," he said. "More than going to weddings?" He smiled briefly. "Yes?" The boy nodded, satisfied. That night, after bedtime, he finally returned the call. He stepped into the hallway so the sound would not carry. "I got your messages," he said. "Good," the voice replied. "We should talk about expectations." "When?" "Soon." He closed his eyes. "I have limited availability," he said. "You know that." "Yes," the voice said. "That's part of the conversation." He ended the call without scheduling anything. He stood there longer than necessary, phone in hand. He could feel the cost of staying where he was. He could also feel the cost of leaving it. In the morning, as he walked his son to school, the boy kicked at a loose stone on the sidewalk. "Dad," he said, "why don't you ever leave when people are mean?" He stopped. "Has someone been mean to you?" "No," the boy said. "Just wondering." He looked at his son's face. Open, expectant. "I stay," he said, choosing the words carefully, "because sometimes leaving makes things harder later." The boy nodded, as if this made sense. At the school gate, the boy paused. "You always stay," he said. "Yes." The boy smiled and ran ahead. He watched him go, feeling the weight of that promise settle more firmly than before. Behind him, the city moved on. Calls were returned. Decisions were made. He stayed. The formal notice arrived on a Wednesday, not by email, by courier. He found it taped flat against the inside of his apartment door when he came home from work, the edges aligned carefully, as if whoever placed it there had wanted it to be unmistakable. The envelope was thick, his name printed in block letters. His son was already inside, shoes off, backpack on the chair. He was humming, pulling papers from his bag and spreading them across the table. "Dad, look," the boy said. "We learned about maps." He nodded and took the envelope down. He did not open it yet. He set it beside the sink and washed his hands. The boy traced a finger along one of the papers. "This is where we live," he said. "Yes." "And this is far away," the boy added, pointing to the edge of the page. "Yes." They ate dinner without hurry. The boy talked about a substitute teacher, about a classmate who had cried during math. The father listened, responding when needed, asking the right questions. Only after dishes were done did he pick up the envelope again. He felt the weight of it this time. He opened it slowly. The language was formal and clean. A role reassignment, effective immediately. A reduction in scope. A change in reporting. No appeal mentioned. He read it once. Then again. His son watched from the couch. "Is that work?" the boy asked. "Yes." "Are you in trouble?" "No." The boy waited. "Are things different?" "Yes." "How?" He considered the question. He folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. "I'll be working somewhere else," he said. "Same place. Different work." "Oh," the boy said. "Will you still pick me up?" "Yes." "Then it's okay," the boy said, and returned to his drawing. The father sat down slowly. He noticed the way his hands felt heavier now. He noticed the quiet relief in his son's voice. Later that evening, his phone rang again. This time, he answered. "I assume you received the notice," the CEO said. "Yes. I wanted to make sure there were no surprises." There weren't. "Good," the CEO said. "I trust you'll handle the transition professionally." He did not respond right away. "I always do," he said. A pause. "There's one more thing," the CEO added. "The wedding." "Yes?" "You left at the right time," the CEO said. "That was wise." The word wise sat wrong. "I left because my son was tired," he said. "Of course," the CEO replied. "That's what I meant." The call ended shortly after. He stood by the window for a long time after, looking out at the street. Cars passed. Lights changed. Nothing paused for him. The next day at work, his desk was moved. Not far. Just enough. A different row. Less foot traffic. Someone had already cleared part of it. His things were stacked neatly in a box. He said nothing. He unpacked in silence. At pickup, his son ran toward him as usual. He lifted the boy into a brief hug and set him down again. "You're early," the boy said. "I am. Can we go get snacks?" "Yes." They stopped at a small store on the way home. The boy chose carefully, counting coins before handing them to the cashier. That night, as they ate on the couch, the boy asked, "Are you still in charge at work?" He did not answer immediately. "No," he said finally. The boy nodded. "Who is?" "Someone else." "Do they do it better?" "I don't know." "Do you miss it?" He watched his son chew. "Yes," he said. "Sometimes." The boy leaned against him. "I don't miss it," he said. "I like when you're here." The words landed without ceremony. No emphasis. Just truth. The father closed his eyes for a moment. In that moment, the incident finished taking shape. Not the letter, not the call, but the understanding that something had been traded and could not be traded back. The cost was already paid. He opened his eyes. The room was quiet. His son was warm against his side. Outside, the city moved on. Nothing asked his permission anymore. The next morning felt thinner, as if something essential had been removed and the air had not yet adjusted. He woke before the alarm and lay still, listening. His son's breathing came steady from the other room. That part, at least, had not changed. He moved through the routine without shortcuts. Coffee measured. Toast watched until it browned just enough. He packed his son's lunch with the same care as always, placing the note inside the bag before zipping it closed. At the table, his son ate quietly. "Do you still go to the same building?" the boy asked. "Yes." "Same floor?" "No." "Oh." That was all. The boy finished his cereal and wiped his mouth with his sleeve. He corrected himself and used the napkin instead. At work, the difference was immediate. Not dramatic, just clear. People walked past him without slowing. Conversations ended when he approached. His new supervisor introduced himself in a tone meant to sound welcoming, but not equal. "We'll keep things simple," the man said. "Define scope. Clear expectations." He nodded. He spent the day completing tasks that did not require context. Work that filled time but not space. When questions came up, they were routed elsewhere. At lunch, he sat alone. He checked the time more often than usual. He left exactly when he was supposed to. No later, no earlier. At pickup, his son was waiting by the fence, backpack on the ground, toes tracing shapes in the dirt. When he saw him, he smiled and ran forward. "You came," the boy said. "I said I would." At home, the boy spread his homework across the table. The father sat beside him, pointing where needed, correcting gently. That night, after the boy was asleep, he sorted through paperwork. He adjusted budgets again. He removed one more line item, then another. He did not feel panic. He felt pressure. A steady narrowing. The following days followed the same pattern. Work without weight. Home with purpose. The balance held, but barely. On Friday, his son brought home a permission slip for a school event, a field trip, a small fee attached. He read it twice before signing. "Do I get to go?" the boy asked. "Yes." "Will you come too?" No, he said. Just your class. The boy frowned. Why? Because it's your thing. The boy accepted that, but later as he packed the slip into his bag, he asked, Are you still busy? The question was quiet. No, he said. I'm here. The boy nodded, reassured. That weekend, they cleaned the apartment together. The boy wiped low surfaces. He handled higher ones. They worked without talking much. At one point, the boy stopped and looked at him. You don't smile at your phone anymore, he said. He paused. I don't need to, he said. Good, the boy said, and returned to his work. Sunday evening, as he prepared for the week ahead, his phone buzzed. A message from a former colleague. Sorry about the changes. If you ever want to talk. He stared at it, then typed a response. Thank you. He did not send it. He deleted the draft and set the phone down. Later, as he tucked his son in, the boy asked, Are things done changing? He considered the question. No, he said, but we are okay. The boy seemed satisfied with that. When the lights were off, he stood in the doorway for a moment, watching. The room felt smaller than it used to, or maybe he had simply learned to notice its edges. In the kitchen, the calendar still hung on the wall. The wedding date remained circled, now in the past. He did not cross it out. He washed his hands and turned off the light. The days moved forward, quietly, with consequence. The call came on a Monday afternoon, just after he had finished a task that did not need to be finished quickly. He noticed the number immediately. He had learned it by pattern, not memory. He let it ring once longer than necessary, then answered. Yes, he said. The voice on the other end did not rush. I wanted to check in, the CEO said. See how the transition is going. It's going, he said. Good, the CEO replied. That's what I expected. He waited. The silence felt intentional. There is an opportunity, the CEO continued, temporary, short-term. It would require some flexibility. He closed his eyes briefly. What kind of flexibility? He asked. Travel, the CEO said. Longer hours, being available when needed. And after things could stabilize, the CEO said. Visibility improves, momentum returns. He pictured the school gate, the fence, his son waiting. I don't have that kind of flexibility, he said. The CEO did not respond right away. I thought you might say that, he said finally. But I wanted to be sure. Why? Because I still believe in your capability, the CEO said, even if your circumstances complicate things. The word complicate settled heavily. My circumstances are my life, he said. Yes, the CEO replied, and that's precisely the tension. They ended the call without resolution. At pickup, his son was quieter than usual. He walked beside him instead of ahead. Did something happen? The father asked. No, the boy said, just tired. They walked the rest of the way without speaking. At home, the boy dropped his bag by the door and went straight to his room. The father followed a moment later. Do you want a snack? He asked. The boy shook his head. I just want to sit, he said. He left him there and went to the kitchen. He poured a glass of water and drank it standing up. That evening, the boy ate little. He pushed food around his plate and watched it move without interest. Do you feel okay? The father asked. Yes. You're quiet. So are you. He accepted that. After dinner, they sat on the couch. The boy leaned against him, knees pulled in. Dad, the boy said, if you went away for work, would you come back? The question was simple. It did not carry fear. It carried expectation. Yes, he said. When? I don't know. The boy nodded slowly. I don't like not knowing, he said. Neither do I. That night, after the boy was asleep, the father opened his laptop again. He reread the email outlining the temporary opportunity. The compensation was higher, the language careful, the expectation clear. He imagined saying yes. The schedule rearranged. The boy eating dinner with neighbors. The notes left on the counter instead of spoken at the table. He closed the laptop. The next morning, he replied, I can't accept. The response came quickly. Understood. Nothing more. At work, the day passed without comment. No one mentioned the call. No one needed to. At lunch, he walked outside instead of eating at his desk. The air was colder now. He stood near the building and watched people pass without recognizing anyone. When he returned, his supervisor asked him to cover a task usually assigned elsewhere. Just this once, the man said. We're short. He agreed. The task took longer than expected. He checked the time. Pickup approached. I need to leave, he said, standing. The supervisor hesitated. It's not finished, he said. I'll complete it tomorrow, he said. The man frowned but did not argue. At the school gate, his son was waiting alone. No other parents. No other children. Sorry, the boy said immediately. I was inside, but they told me to come out. I'm here, he said. They walked home quickly. That night, as they brushed their teeth side by side, the boy looked up at him in the mirror. Did you say no to something? The boy asked. Yes, he said. Why? Because it would have meant being away. The boy rinsed and spat carefully. I like when you say no, he said. He paused, toothbrush in hand. Why? Because then things stay the same, the boy said. He turned off the tap. Things don't always stay the same, he said. I know, the boy said, but sometimes they can. Later, after bedtime, the father sat at the table and reviewed the week ahead. He adjusted times. He moved tasks. He created space where he could. He felt the cost more clearly now. Not as loss, but as limit. A narrowing path that required attention at every step. In the quiet, he thought again of the wedding, of the room, of the voice that had redirected his gaze. He understood now that the whisper had not been about attention. It had been about alignment. He had chosen otherwise. In the morning as they walked to school, his son kicked leaves along the sidewalk. Dad, the boy said, if someone tells you to look at them, do you have to? He considered the question. No, he said. You choose where to look. The boy nodded. I always look at you, he said. The father did not respond. He stopped walking for a moment and rested his hand on the boy's shoulder. Then they continued on. The first bill arrived with a different number at the bottom. Not alarming, just unfamiliar. He opened it at the kitchen table while his son worked through homework, sounding out words under his breath. The pencil scratched unevenly across the page. Dad, the boy said, is this right? He leaned over and looked. He pointed to the line that needed fixing. The boy erased carefully and tried again. That's better, he said. The boy smiled, satisfied, and returned to the page. He folded the bill and set it aside. He did not stack it with the others. He placed it alone, where he would not forget it. The dance began to require more planning. He noticed it in small ways, fewer spontaneous stops, more lists. He checked prices now. He waited for sales. He stopped replacing things that still worked. His son noticed some of it. Why don't we get the cereal with the toy? The boy asked one morning. We don't need the toy, he said. Oh! The boy accepted this, but later, while pouring the cereal into his bowl, he asked, is it because it costs more? Yes, he said. That's okay, the boy said. I don't like the toys anyway. He did not comment on how easily the boy had adjusted. He was not sure what that meant yet. At work, the adjustment showed differently. He was given tasks that ended cleanly with no loose edges. He completed them efficiently and passed them along. There were fewer questions directed his way. He stopped offering suggestions, not because he had none, but because no one had asked. When meetings ran long, he watched the clock. He left on time. The pattern became visible, predictable. One afternoon, his supervisor pulled him aside. You don't need to rush out every day, the man said. It's noticed. He kept his voice even. I have a commitment, he said. The supervisor nodded once. Understood, he said, but his tone suggested that understanding did not equal acceptance. At pickup, his son was sitting on the steps, drawing in the dirt with a stick. He stood when he saw him. You came fast, the boy said. I did. Some kids' parents are late. He did not answer. On the walk home, the boy asked, "Are you late at work?" "No." "Why?" "Because I leave when I'm done." The boy thought about that. "I like being done," he said. At home, the boy helped set the table. He counted plates. He corrected himself when he miscounted. During dinner, the boy asked, "Do you miss your old job?" He paused. "Yes," he said, "parts of it." "Which parts?" "Being good at it," he said. The boy considered this. "You're good at this," he said, gesturing at the table. "The room. The space between them." He nodded but did not respond. Later that evening, the boy struggled with a reading assignment. He grew frustrated, pressing too hard with the pencil. "I can't do it," the boy said. "Yes, you can," he said. "It's too hard." He took the pencil gently and set it aside. "Take a break," he said. "We'll come back." The boy crossed his arms but did not argue. He stood up and paced the room once, then returned and sat down again. "Okay," he said. They finished the assignment together. After bedtime, the father reviewed the budget again. He made another small change. He closed the document and stared at the screen for a moment longer than necessary. He thought about the path he was on. Narrower now. More deliberate. There was less room for error, but also less confusion. The next morning, his son asked if they could walk a different way to school. "Why?" he asked. "So we can see the big tree," the boy said. They adjusted their route. The tree stood where it always had. The boy circled it once before moving on. "That's better," the boy said. As they continued, the father realized that the adjustment was no longer temporary. It was becoming the shape of things. He felt the weight of that settle, not as regret, but as responsibility. At the school gate, the boy turned back before going in. "Dad," he said. "Yes? You're still my dad even if you're not in charge anymore, right?" "Yes," he said. The boy smiled and ran inside. He stood there for a moment after, watching the door close. He understood now that adjustment was not about getting used to loss. It was about deciding what counted. The note from the school came folded into his son's bag, tucked between worksheets and a half-finished drawing. He found it while unpacking at the kitchen table. "Please come by after pickup today. No explanation, no urgency markers. Just the request." He read it twice, then set it beside the sink. His son was already talking, words overlapping as he pulled out papers. "We had music today," the boy said, "and I got to hold the drum." "That sounds loud." "It was," the boy said, "but not bad loud." At pickup, the boy walked beside him instead of ahead. He did not ask questions, but his hand stayed close, brushing against his father's sleeve. They waited outside the classroom while the hallway emptied. The teacher stepped out last. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Thanks for coming," she said. They sat in chairs meant for children. His knees rose higher than comfortable. His son swung his legs, watching the floor. "I wanted to share something," the teacher said. "Nothing serious, just an observation." He nodded. "Your son has been very attentive lately," she said. "More than usual." "That's good," he said. "It is," she agreed. "But he's also been correcting other children." The boy stopped swinging his legs. "How?" he asked. The teacher looked at the boy, then back at him. "He told another student that they shouldn't cry because things change and you just deal with it," she said. The words landed quietly. Clean. Too familiar. He looked at his son. "Did you say that?" he asked. The boy nodded once. "He was crying about his dad being late," the boy said. "I was trying to help." "I know," the teacher said gently, "but sometimes helping means letting people feel sad." The boy frowned, processing. "I don't feel sad," he said. "I just wait." The teacher glanced at him again, then back to the father. "He's very observant," she said. "He notices patterns." "Yes," he said. "We'll keep an eye on it," the teacher continued. "I just wanted you to know." They thanked her and left. Outside, the afternoon light felt harsher than usual. They walked in silence for a block before the boy spoke. "Did I do something wrong?" the boy asked. "No," he said, "but the teacher didn't like it. She was just telling us what she saw." The boy kicked at a loose stone. I was telling the truth, he said. I know. They reached the corner and waited for the light. Cars passed. Someone honked. Dad, the boy said, looking straight ahead, you always say things change and you just deal with it. He felt the weight of that sentence settle fully now. Not as accusation. As reflection. Yes, he said. So I was right. He took a breath. You were repeating what you've heard, he said. That doesn't always mean it's the whole thing. The boy considered this. What's the other part? He waited until the light changed and they stepped into the street. The other part, he said, is that you can deal with things and still feel them. The boy walked in silence for a few steps. I don't feel much, he said. He stopped walking. The boy stopped too, turning back. What? The boy asked. He crouched slightly so they were closer to eye level. Sometimes, he said carefully, you don't feel things right away. That's okay, but it's still important to notice when other people do. The boy nodded slowly. Like when you're quiet, the boy said. Yes, he said, and you don't talk about work. Yes. The boy looked at him closely. But you still take care of me, the boy said. Yes. That's the important part, the boy said. He stood up again. They resumed walking. At home, the boy sat at the table and drew. This time, he drew two figures standing next to each other. No background. No labels. What's that? He asked. Us, the boy said. He watched as the boy filled in the shapes with steady strokes. That night, after bedtime, he replayed the conversation again and again. Not with the teacher. With his son. He understood now that restraint had been visible. Not just to those with power, but to the child who watched him most closely. Silence had taught something. In the morning, as they walked to school, the boy paused at the gate. Dad, he said. Yes? If I feel sad one day, can I say it? He answered without hesitation. Yes, he said. You should. The boy nodded, satisfied, and ran inside. He stood there longer than usual, watching the door close. For the first time, he wondered not whether his choices were right, but what they were teaching. The message arrived late that afternoon, just as he was finishing dinner. His phone vibrated against the counter, brief and insistent. Can we talk tomorrow? In person. No greeting. No signature. He did not need either. He read it once and set the phone down. He turned the stove off and carried the plates to the table. His son climbed into his chair and picked up his fork. Is that work again? The boy asked. Yes. Are you going to say no? I don't know yet. The boy nodded and began eating. He did not ask more. That night, the father slept lightly. He woke once before the alarm and lay there, thinking about the shape of the next day. He did not rehearse words. He did not plan arguments. He focused instead on the order of things: breakfast, drop off, pick up, anchoring himself to what would not change. In the morning, his son moved slower than usual. He tied his shoes twice before getting it right. You okay? The father asked. Yes, the boy said. I just don't want to rush. They walked to school without speaking. At the gate, the boy paused. Will you be late today? He asked. No, the father said. Promise? Yes. The boy nodded and went inside. At work, the meeting was scheduled for mid-morning. He arrived on time. The room was small. No windows again. Just a table and two chairs. The CEO was already there. Thanks for coming, the CEO said. He sat down without replying. I'll be direct, the CEO continued. The temporary opportunity is still available. I declined it. You did, the CEO said, but circumstances change. Mine haven't. The CEO leaned forward slightly. You're limiting yourself, he said, and by extension, your future. He considered that. He thought about his son's question at the school gate. Promise? My future's not abstract, he said. It's scheduled. The CEO smiled thinly. That's a choice, he said. Yes. Silence followed. Not hostile. Evaluative. There are people watching how you handle this phase, the CEO said. It matters. I know, he said. And I'm handling it, he said. Just not the way you prefer. The CEO studied him for a moment longer, then leaned back. I won't pressure you, he said, but I won't adjust the system around one person either. I wouldn't expect you to. They stood. The meeting ended without resolution. As he left, the CEO said, You used to want more. He stopped at the door. I still do, he said. I just know what it costs now. He left without waiting for a response. At pickup, his son was sitting on the curb, drawing shapes with his shoe in the dust. He stood when he saw him. You came, the boy said. I said I would. They walked home together. The boy talked about a story they read in class. The father listened, answering when needed. At home, the boy spread his books out and worked quietly. The father sat nearby, sorting mail. One envelope bore the company logo again. He set it aside, unopened. That evening, the boy asked, Did you talk to the man from the wedding? Yes, he said. Did he tell you to look at him again? The question was simple. Honest. Yes, he said. What did you do? I kept looking where I was, he said. The boy nodded. That makes sense, he said. After bedtime, the father opened the envelope he had set aside. It outlined future compensation adjustments. Gradual. Inevitable. He folded it and placed it in the drawer with the others. He understood now that confrontation did not always arrive as conflict. Sometimes it arrived as pressure that asked you to move quietly out of the way. He also understood that not moving was its own form of resistance. In the morning, as they walked to school, his son reached for his hand. You didn't leave, the boy said. No, he said. Good, the boy said. I don't like when things disappear. He squeezed his son's hand once, gently. He knew the cost of staying would continue to accumulate. He also knew that deferring confrontation did not erase it. It only delayed the moment when the world would respond more firmly. He walked on, holding the line as best he could. The school fundraiser was held in the gymnasium on a Thursday evening. Folding tables lined the walls. Posters hung unevenly, taped at the corners. The smell of baked goods mixed with disinfectant. He arrived holding his son's hand. The boy carried a small envelope with coins inside, counted twice before leaving the apartment. You don't have to buy everything, the father said. I know, the boy said. Just one thing. They stepped inside. Voices overlapped. Children ran in loose circles. Parents stood in clusters, talking over the noise. He stayed near the wall at first. He watched his son scan the tables, eyes moving carefully from one to the next. That one, the boy said, pointing. With the blue plate. They walked over. The boy examined the cookies laid out in rows. He chose one without hesitation and handed over the envelope. That's enough, the volunteer said, smiling. You can keep the rest. The boy shook his head. No, he said. This is what it costs. The woman paused, then nodded and took the envelope. They moved away and found a spot on the bleachers. The boy ate slowly, breaking the cookie into small pieces. Across the gym, the father recognized a few faces. Parents from work. A former client. Someone he had once supervised. One of them noticed him and waved. He raised his hand in return but did not cross the room. The boy leaned against him. Do you know everyone here? The boy asked. No, he said. You used to, the boy said. Yes. Do you miss it? He watched his son brush crumbs from his hands. No, he said. Not like before. The boy nodded. A man approached them halfway through the evening. He was familiar in the way people are when you have shared a role but not a friendship. Didn't expect to see you here, the man said. It's my son's school, he said. Right, the man said. I heard about the shift. Yes. How are you handling it? He did not answer immediately. He felt his son's weight against his side. I'm here, he said. The man smiled awkwardly. Well, he said, that's something. He walked away without saying more. The boy watched him go. Why did he look like that? The boy asked. He didn't know what to say, the father replied. Why? Because people don't always know how to talk when things change. The boy nodded. I know how, he said. How? You just say what's happening, the boy said. The father did not respond. Later, when it was time to leave, the boy hesitated near the door. Can we stay a little longer? He asked. He checked the time. Not late. Not early. Okay, he said. They stayed. The boy helped clean up without being asked. He stacked chairs carefully, lining them up by height. On the walk home, the boy was quiet. You were different tonight, the boy said finally. How? You talked to people, the boy said. But you didn't change. He considered that. I didn't need to, he said. At home, the boy put the leftover cookie pieces in a container and labeled it with a marker. For later, he said, that night, as he turned off the lights, the father understood that being in public no longer required him to perform a version of himself his son could not recognize. The cost of that performance had already been paid. What remained was presence, not invisible, not dominant, just steady. As they walked to school the next morning, the boy pointed to a crack in the sidewalk. Don't step on that one, he said. It's loose. The father adjusted his step. Thanks, he said. They continued on. The email arrived just before noon. No subject line. No greeting. We've reconsidered. He read it once, then again, scanning for details that were not there. A meeting request followed seconds later. End of day. Same floor. Same room. He did not respond immediately. He finished what he was working on. He sent the last file and closed the application carefully, as if order still mattered. At lunch, he walked outside and ate a sandwich on a bench. The bread was dry. He drank water slowly and watched people pass without recognizing anyone. The meeting room was empty when he arrived. The CEO entered a minute later, holding a tablet. I'll keep this short, the CEO said. There's a role opening, permanent, higher visibility than your current position. Less than before, but meaningful. He nodded. It would require a commitment, the CEO continued. Not travel heavy, but longer hours. Some unpredictability. How much? He asked. The CEO paused. Enough that it would be noticed. He thought about pickup times, about the fence, about his son waiting alone once. I can't, he said. The CEO did not hide his reaction this time. His expression shifted just slightly. You haven't even heard the full scope, he said. I don't need to, he replied. I know where the pressure would land. This is the best compromise available, the CEO said. It's still a compromise, he said. Just not one I can make. The CEO set the tablet down. You're choosing stagnation, he said. I'm choosing stability, he replied. Silence followed, longer than before. When this closes, the CEO said, there won't be another offer. I understand. The CEO studied him for a moment, then nodded. Then that's that, he said. Yes. He left without shaking hands. At pickup, his son was sitting on the steps again, backpack at his feet. He looked up when he saw him. You're on time, the boy said. Yes. They walked home together. The boy talked about a story they were reading in class. The father listened, letting the words pass through him. At home, the boy spread his books out and worked quietly. The father sorted mail. Another envelope with the company logo waited among the others. That evening, the boy asked, Did you say no again? Yes, he said. Was it hard? Yes. Why did you do it? He considered the question. Because saying yes would have meant being away, he said. The boy nodded. I don't like away, he said. I know. After bedtime, the father opened the envelope. It confirmed what he had already been told. No further consideration. No future review. He folded the letter and placed it in the drawer with the rest. He understood now that refusal carried its own permanence. Not dramatic. Just final. In the morning, as they walked to school, the boy looked up at him. Dad, he said, if someone keeps asking, you can still say no, right? Yes, he said. Even if they don't like it? Yes. The boy smiled. Good, he said. I like when you choose us. The father did not correct him. He did not explain that there was no us without consequence. He walked on, knowing the cost had settled into place. The shift showed up quietly. Not in an announcement, not in a meeting, in access. One morning, his badge no longer opened the side door he had used for years. He stood there for a moment, holding it against the reader, listening to the dull refusal. He tried once more, then stepped back and walked around to the front entrance with everyone else. No one commented. At his desk, a few folders were missing, not removed dramatically, just gone. The work had moved on without him. He sat down and logged in. His inbox was lighter now. Fewer threads, fewer expectations. The days stretched ahead in long, manageable blocks. At lunch, his supervisor stopped by. "Just a heads up," the man said. "Your role will be reclassified next quarter." "How?" he asked. "Contractual," the man said. "Less upside, more clarity." He nodded. "That affects benefits," the supervisor added. "You'll get details." He did not respond. At pickup, his son was waiting inside the gate this time, sitting on the bench with a book. He looked up when he saw him and smiled. "I finished it," the boy said, holding the book up. "Did you like it?" "Yes," the boy said. "It ended different than I thought." "Was that okay?" "Yes," the boy said. "It still made sense." They walked home together. The boy read parts of the story aloud as they went, stopping to ask questions about words he didn't know. At home, the father opened the packet that had arrived in the mail. Benefit adjustments. Coverage changes. A number circled in pen by someone else. He read it once. Then again, that evening, he cooked more carefully than usual. He measured portions. He saved leftovers. His son noticed. "Are we saving food now?" the boy asked. "Yes," he said. "Why?" "So we don't waste it." The boy nodded. "That's smart," he said. After dinner, the boy worked on a puzzle at the table. He struggled with one piece, turning it over and over. "It doesn't fit," the boy said. "Try another spot," he said. The boy moved it slightly. It clicked into place. "Oh," the boy said, "I was pushing too hard." "Yes," he said. Later, after bedtime, the father sat alone in the kitchen. The light above the sink hummed softly. He held the benefits packet in his hands again. The choice was no longer abstract. It was no longer framed as ambition versus values. It was food, coverage, time. He thought about calling the CEO, not to ask, to explain. He imagined the conversation, the polite refusal, the quiet dismissal. He did not make the call. In the morning, as they walked to school, his son dragged his feet slightly. "You okay?" the father asked. "Yes," the boy said. "Just thinking." "About what?" "But if you ever have to go away." He stopped walking. "Do you think I will?" he asked. The boy shrugged. "I don't know," he said. "But if you do, will it be because you have to?" He knelt slightly so they were level. "If I ever go," he said carefully, "it will be because I believe it helps us, not because someone told me to." The boy nodded. "Okay," he said. "Then I'll wait." They reached the gate. The boy hesitated. "Dad," he said. "Yes?" "If waiting gets lonely, you can tell me," the boy said. "I'm good at waiting too." The father felt the weight of the choice settle fully then, not as sacrifice, as commitment. He watched his son go inside. The door closed behind him. The world outside did not pause. Cars moved. People passed. Work continued. He stood there a moment longer than necessary, then turned back toward the path he had chosen. The letter arrived on a Friday. Thin, final. He opened it standing by the counter, shoes still on, jacket half unzipped. The words were fewer now. No explanations, just confirmation. The reclassification was effective immediately. The role he had once held no longer existed in any form that included his name. He folded the letter and placed it on the table. He took his jacket off and hung it carefully. His son came out of his room, backpack dragging behind him. "Can we go to the library?" the boy asked. "They have the book with the trains." Yes, he said. They walked there after dinner. The sky was already dark. The library lights were bright and steady. Inside, it was quiet in the way that felt intentional. The boy went straight to the shelf he wanted. He found the book and carried it to a table, opening it carefully. "Sit with me," the boy said. He did. They stayed longer than usual. The boy traced pictures with his finger. He read signs out loud. The father watched the clock only once. On the walk home, the boy skipped ahead, then waited, then skipped again. He matched his pace without thinking. At home, the father placed the letter in the drawer with the others. The stack was thicker now. It did not surprise him. That night, after bedtime, he sat at the table and reviewed their finances again. There was less room than before. Still enough, barely. He did not look for other work. Not yet. He needed to understand what had been lost before deciding what could replace it. In the morning, his son asked, "Do you still have work?" "Yes," he said. "But not the old one?" "No." The boy nodded. "Is it gone?" "Gone?" the boy asked. "Yes." The boy considered this. "Okay," he said. "Then we make new plans." "Yes," he said. "Then we make new plans." "Yes," he said. They walked to school in silence. At the gate, the boy turned back. "You look tired," the boy said. "I am," he said. "Do you want to sit later?" "Yes." "I'll sit with you," the boy said. "Yes. I'll sit with you," the boy said. He nodded. That afternoon, the father left work earlier than usual. No one noticed. There was nothing left that required his presence past the minimum. At pickup, the boy was already waiting. He smiled when he saw him. "You're early," the boy said. "Yes." They walked home slowly. At home, the father packed away a few things from his desk into a box. Old notebooks, a framed certificate he had never hung. He did not throw them away. He placed the box on a high shelf. The loss settled quietly, not as grief, as absence. No one asked his opinion anymore. No one waited for his approval. The space where those things had been was empty, and nothing rushed to fill it. That night, as he tucked his son in, the boy asked, "Are you sad?" He thought about it. "Yes," he said. The boy nodded. "That's okay," the boy said. "You can still stay." "Yes," he said. He turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a moment, listening to his son breathe. In the living room, the apartment felt smaller. Or maybe he was finally using all of it. The loss did not announce itself again. It simply stayed. The morning came without urgency. No alarm, no rush. He woke before his son and lay still, listening to the buildings settle around them. Pipes clicked softly. A door closed somewhere down the hall. The world continued at its usual pace, but his place in it had shifted. In the kitchen, he made breakfast without checking the time. He cut the fruit unevenly this time. He did not correct it. His son appeared in the doorway, hair still bent from sleep. "Are we late?" the boy asked. "No," he said. "We have time?" The boy considered this, then climbed into his chair. "Okay," he said. They ate slowly. The boy talked about a project they were starting in class. He listened without glancing at his phone. It sat face down on the counter, silent. When they left the apartment, he locked the door and checked it once. Not twice. They walked a different route than usual. The boy pointed out things he hadn't noticed before. A cracked step, a faded sign, a cat sleeping on a windowsill. At the school gate, the boy stopped. "You don't have to wait today," the boy said. "I know," he said, "but you can if you want." He smiled slightly. "I want to." They stood there together until the bell rang. The boy hugged him quickly, then ran inside without looking back. He stayed where he was for a moment after the door closed. No one was watching. No one needed anything from him. On the walk home, he passed a cafe he used to stop at on his way to work. The window was fogged. People inside leaned over laptops, talking in low voices. He did not go in. At home, he opened the windows and let the air in. He moved furniture slightly, making space where there had been none. He cleared a corner of the room and placed a small desk there. Nothing expensive, just enough. Later, his son came home and dropped his bag by the door. "You're here," the boy said. "Yes," he said. They sat on the floor together and worked on the boy's project. Paper spread between them. Glue sticks uncapped. The boy concentrated, tongue pressed lightly against his teeth. "I like this room better," the boy said suddenly. "What's different?" he asked. "It's quieter," the boy said. "And you don't look like you're leaving." He did not answer. That evening, he cooked without measuring. They ate at the table, plates mismatched. When they were done, he did not clear them right away. Outside, the city moved on. Meetings happened. Decisions were made without his input. Doors opened for others. Inside, the apartment held its shape. Before bed, the boy stood in the doorway of his room. "Dad," he said. "Yes?" "You didn't look at anyone else today," the boy said. "Just me." He nodded. "That's good," the boy said, and went to bed. Later, the father stood alone in the kitchen. The calendar still hung on the wall. The circle around the wedding date had faded slightly. He did not remove it. He turned off the light and went to bed, leaving the room as it was. The next morning would come, different, quietly.